So welcome everyone. Sorry about the delayed start. I've just been informed that the world is actually not going anywhere. They're going to wait for us, so it's all right. Okay. We're going to start with just a couple of minutes of meditation, just checking in, okay, just grounding, all right? So if you would like to follow my lead, if you're sitting down, please sit with your legs crossed, spine aligned. You may want to open up your chest and shoulders. And an easy way to do that is take a deep breath in and stretch both your hands straight up. Stretch, stretch, stretch. And as you exhale, lower your hands by your side, holding your elbows and letting your palms fall in your lap. This opens up your chest and shoulders and allows your lungs to breathe easier. Tilt your head back slightly and tuck your chin in, looking down over the tip of your nose to a spot about 6 to 7 feet in front of you. That's a good posture. And start with taking 3 deep breaths. Letting your breathing come back to normal. Simply watching the sensation of breathing. Aware of the rise and fall of your chest or abdomen as the breath moves in and out of your body. And once again, taking 3 deep breaths. Please bring your palms together at your heart space. And if you're comfortable, please repeat after me. Astoma Sadgamaya, Tamsoma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Thank you. Thank you and welcome. So what we just said was a small little prayer or a reminder which basically says, lead me from untruth to truth, from darkness to light, and from death to immortality. It's simply in Sanskrit. It does not pertain to any particular religion. It's just a simple reminder of what we are doing in our journey. So, wow, that was good. I like that echo. So this is a very, very short class. 3 hours to study the Bhagavad Gita is not enough. 3 lifetimes is not enough. But sometimes 3 seconds might just be enough, depending on what you get out of it. So I'm going to do this in a slightly different format. I normally do this class over a 3-week period, 3 sessions each of 3 hours. And that also is really not sufficient. So I see here a lot of people who are very experienced with the Bhagavad Gita, and I see some books around as well. So I'm going to presume this is an advanced class, and I'm going to speak only in Sanskrit. Is that okay? Okay, no. Well, that's not happening. So we'll just go ex tempo, and I will use the slides only when we think it is necessary. So let's just do this as a question-answer format. I'll give you a little bit of introduction and a summary of what the Bhagavad Gita is all about, and we will take it from there. So first of all, how many people have never studied the Bhagavad Gita or know about the Bhagavad Gita? We don't know anything about the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, beautiful. How many people have actually studied the Bhagavad Gita a little bit? Okay, that's pretty good. And how many people are advanced practitioners? Well, don't be modest. You can raise your hand. If you're doing service in life, you are an advanced practitioner of the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. Now let's see. How many people are advanced practitioners of Bhagavad Gita? Beautiful. That's what we like to see. See, the Bhagavad Gita can get very complicated, but the message is very, very simple. So if we get lost in the words, we sometimes miss the message altogether. So a little bit about the Bhagavad Gita. Everybody is aware of where it comes from. I'm going to stand up. I think I'm more comfortable standing up and speaking, okay? Everyone can see me? It's all good? All right, cool. So the oldest teachings that come from India, they are called the Vedas. There are 4 Vedas: Rig Veda, Sam Veda, Yatharveda, and Yajur Veda. And in those Vedas are smaller sections which are called Upanishads. Now, Upanishads are the larger teachings, and they are the extracts of what the Vedas talk about. And there are many, many Upanishads, about 10 or 11 of them are more studied. So that is the philosophy, or as we call Brahma Vidya. You can see it here. It says Brahma Vidya Yoga Shastra. Brahma Vidya. What is Brahma Vidya? So according to understanding from the East, right, this is a science. It's not a philosophy. It's not a doctrine. Brahma is supreme. Vidya is science. So you can translate it as supreme science, or the science that affects all the sciences, or the science of the supreme, right? Now, before we delve deeper into that, let's come to the understanding of what God is according to the Bhagavad Gita and the Upanishads. So Upanishads are like, you can call them assorted photographs from your vacation. There are pictures of mountains and rivers and lakes, and they tell you a story. but they don't tell you how to get there, right? Bhagavad Gita is like a field guide and a map. It lays out the territory, it tells you how to get there. Exactly. So it's like every man's workbook. Every time you're stuck with something, open the Bhagavad Gita, it'll tell you what to do. It's like the olden type of Google. When we didn't have Google, we used Bhagavad Gita, right? It had all the answers. Or let's call it older Siri, right? Tough audience. My jokes are going to go flat today. Oh my God. Okay. So what is God? You see, in Hinduism, we have multiple gods. We have Shiva, Vishnu, Kali, Brahma, Rama, Krishna. Some are avatars, some are gods, and everybody gets confused that Hinduism has multiple gods. Now, the first thing to understand is that literally there is no such thing as a God. Now, in many, so there are different religions, right? Some religions are faith-based, some religions are introspection-based, right? So let's talk about that for a little bit before we actually get to the Bhagavad Gita. I'm going to destroy my beautiful painting. I hope my daughter's watching. Hey, I drew well.
I am. It's beautiful.
And if this thing collapses, that'll be fun. Okay. Can everybody see it? Can everybody see me? Good. Oh, that's even better. Is that good? Can everyone see it? I think there's some problem with the stand. So nice. That's great. Can everybody hear me without the mic? Also? It's good? Okay. So in Hinduism, there is a very famous statement which is called Tat Tvam Asi. Right? The Bible says that thou art. Right? So religion is also of two types. Some religions are Tat religions, some religions are Tvam religions. What does that mean? That God is there. The religions of faith in a God outside of ourselves. All the Abrahamic religions, Islam, Christianity, Judaism, are Tat religions. Right? Tvam, that means everything is in you. Aham Brahmasmi, I am the creator of the universe. I am the maker of my own destiny. I am the creator of my own heaven and hell. That's you. So those are religions of introspection. Hinduism, Jainism, Buddhism fall into this category. Religions of introspection. So Tat Tvam Asi, this is introspection. In the religions which are faith-based, we say that there is an individual soul and a universal soul. Even in Hinduism, there are two ways to look at the same thing. It's called Vedanta, Dvaita Vedanta, and Advaita Vedanta, which is Vedanta of duality, that there is me and then there is God, and Advaita Vedanta, which means it's all one. You are everything. There is only what is called awareness consciousness or Sat Chit Ananda. Truth, consciousness, bliss. Or a field of awareness. We will come to what that field means just in a minute. Let me just explain the difference between duality and non-duality. Because the Bhagavad Gita teaches both, but then also teaches you a shortcut, the easier path to take. But to take to where? Why do people study the Bhagavad Gita? What is the reason behind studying the Bhagavad Gita? And that's very important. Like, what brought you here? Apart from I blackmailed you and I cried and I told you all to come, apart from that, what brought you here? Yes? So you want to learn more about, so you're seeking for something in general. Okay? In general, certain people are seeking for something. Right. In general, certain people are seeking something. Right? Right. So, seeking something. Or you have suffering in some form or the other, what we call dukkha, and we are trying to find a way to get out of that. Some people are seeking God. What is God? Right? Just a moment. Jax, I think we have 2 more people just joining us. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's Don and Malena. Okay, I can't see them. Beautiful. Right. So seeking God. Right? Now, the important thing to realize before we embark on the study of the Bhagavad Gita is that the ultimate aim of Eastern religions is not finding God or bliss or peace or happiness or the famous word love, right? It is all about a simple thing called self-realization. This is the most important thing to realize and understand before you proceed on understanding what the Bhagavad Gita is. If I still believe that I am this person and there is a God and I need to connect to this God in order to find peace, happiness, serenity, etc., and the next $1 million, okay, it might be a little bit problematic. If we start from the perspective of saying, what is self? Who am I? Nanayara. In Kannada, Ramana Maharishi has this famous statement, who am I? That is the ultimate goal in Hinduism. Realization of self. Who am I? Beyond this bag of bones and this packet of thoughts. Right? So realization of self, not finding God, not finding peace, and they might be the byproducts of that. But the ultimate aim is self-realization. So why so many gods? Why do we have so many gods? Why do we have a Rama or a Krishna or a Shiva or whatever? And people make statues of that and they pray to that. And why do we do that? Why do we read this book called the Bhagavad Gita, which is a discourse from so-called Krishna, who's a god, to Arjuna, who's our everyday man? Why do we do that? So here's the beauty of that. God is simply a process or an item or a representation of what you can follow for self-realization. You can follow the path of Krishna. You can follow the path of Shiva. You can follow the path of Rama. They taught various things to get to the same summit, which is self-realization. So it's not a religion with multiple gods. It is a religion with many ways to the same truth. And that truth is self-realization. We good with that? We'll have a question session at the end. So please make your notes. If anybody has any questions, please write them down and we will discuss all of them. Okay? I'll try to find as much time as possible. So we come to the goal, self-realization, right? That is the main goal, and not finding God. Now, so if we are going to realize this self, what is this self? Who am I? End of the day, now that's the big question, right? We have this problem with self-realization. I don't have a problem with self-realization. I know who I am. I'm a yoga teacher, I'm a meditation teacher, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a brother, I'm a boyfriend, I'm a girlfriend, I'm a teacher, I'm whatever, right? I know who I am. So what's the problem with this? What is this thing called self-realization? Who am I? See, normally we associate ourself with two things, the body and the mind. Isn't it? Everything I say, I'm a father. That's a relationship. Right? Let's talk about the mind, the emotions. I'm sad. When you become happy, the sadness goes away, but the I am remains, right? When you're hungry, you eat something, the hunger goes away, but the I am remains. So what is this I am that remains after all these impermanent things of the body and mind go away? Now, if you take a look at your body and say, I'm my body, right? Or you describe your body, I'm a 6 feet 11 inches white, handsome male, which I'm not, right? Is that true? Is that really true? You see, from the day we are born till now, every cell in our body has changed at least 6 to 7 times. Science, correct? Let me give you another example. We used to have an example in Indian context of the axe of Parshuram, but I made a different example called, yes, sir. So, we'll try to do, let's do it by sections, and yeah, we'll come to that. All right, let me just finish this idea of self, then we'll take a break, and then, so there are many things in the Bhagavad Gita. Let me fast forward and give you a summary of what we are going to do today. All right, Bhagavad Gita has got 18 chapters. Everybody likes to break things up. So Bhagavad Gita has 3 sets of chapters of 6 chapters each, right? 1 to 6, 7 to 12, and 13 to 18, all right? So 1 to 6, 7 to 12, and 13 to 18, right? 1 to 6 talks about Tvam, 7 to 12 talks about Tat, and 13 to 18 talks about Asi. How about that? Anybody taught you this before? It's not in any of the books. Tat Tvam Asi. That thou art. So chapters 1 to 6 tell you about you. Who are you? What are you going through? What's your purpose in life? What is your responsibility? What is karma? Right? 7 to 12 tell you about Tat, God or the universe or the awareness. How was it all formed? Right? All that is in detail. And Asi is how to be. You are being, how to be in this life. What do you need to do? Right? So that's how the Bhagavad Gita is broken up. A lot of people also talk about 1 to 6 is about Jnana Yoga, 7 to 12 is about Karma Yoga, and 13 to 18 is about Bhakti Yoga. So we can do it that way as well. It applies the same way, right? Different ways of looking at it, but I'll try and simplify it. So just try and follow what we are going with, and let's see where we are after that, okay? So we are here. What is this self that we are talking about? First of all, let's understand that and why we need to talk about that. If I'm so convinced that I am this body and my mind, or with all its thoughts and its programming, that's who I am, then I don't need to figure out who the self is, correct? But there is something which lies at the bottom of all of this. And that's where we have this example of the famous hammer of Thor, right? Let's say, what's it called? Mjolnir. Mjolnir is the famous hammer, Thor's hammer, right? So let's say this part is wood and this part is stone, right? And this is Thor's hammer. Now this wood rots and we replace the wood with another wooden handle. Is it still Thor's hammer? Come on, guys, yes or no? It is, right? It rots again after, say, 22 million years. All right? And we put in another piece of wood. Is it still Thor's hammer? Now, at this point, you have Thor's hammer. You don't know what's happened to the wood, and the stone breaks, and we replace the stone with another stone. You don't know, remember, that the handle has been changed. Is it still Thor's hammer? Absolutely. Now the question is, if the wood is still not the same, if the stone is still not the same, what is it that makes it Thor's hammer? The isness of Thor's hammer. Similarly, you or I, when I know that this body is impermanent and every cell has changed, and this mind with all its thoughts and programming has changed multiple times throughout, what is it about me that is I, when everything about me is different? And it's going to be different tomorrow. Since the day you have been born till now, your body has undergone so many changes, nothing of the original remains. Your mind has undergone so many changes, nothing of the original remains. So what is it that is you? And that is what we call awareness consciousness or consciousness. Now, in Western science, we say consciousness is the product of the mind, whereas Eastern philosophy or the Bhagavad Gita or the Upanishads say consciousness exists in spite of the mind and the body. And that is the huge difference. Even when the mind and body are not there, awareness, consciousness exists. And you can experientially feel that. Know that. And that is called self-realization. The realization of self. It might be temporary, it might be in fleeting glimpses, or it might be permanent too. There are many ways. The methods of realizing the self are called the methods, plural. There are multiple methods. The methods of realizing the self is called yoga. Yoga does not mean standing on one leg and putting your head on the ground. Yoga simply means aligning mind, body, soul in such a way that you realize self. And there are multiple things associated with it and how we can go about achieving that. So yoga has 50 different meanings just in the dictionary alone, right? Some say yoga means union, some take yoga as alignment. So there are multiple things that can go with that. That's why the Bhagavad Gita is taught as a subject for yoga teachers in teacher training. Because it's part of yoga, it's part of union. That's what we try to do, right? So yoga is simply methods that we employ for realization of the true self, right? And there are 4 methods which have been prescribed by the Bhagavad Gita depending on your own tendencies and your capabilities of what you can do. And these 4 methods are Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and lastly, Raj Yoga. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains in detail 3 of these yogas, Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga, to Arjun, how to realize self, and Raj Yoga in a very limited way. It's also there in the Bhagavad Gita, but most people, most translators actually look at the Bhagavad Gita from the perspective of 3 different yogas that is being taught. In actuality, there are 4 which are taught right in that. Okay? So, in summary, why do we approach the Gita? We approach the Gita first from the point of view that there is a awareness, a truth beyond this mind-body complex that we call self. What is that? And if I realize that, what does it give me? What do I become? So I'm going to take a short break right here, open it up for questions, and then we go immediately into the opening of the Bhagavad Gita, what the Gita is all about, and the main messages from the Bhagavad Gita. Fair enough? Yes, sir. You said, go. You had questions.
Maybe I misinterpreted what you said or didn't hear you right, but the Abrahamic religions focus on tongues, correct?
Focused on?
On the faith.
On faith, yes.
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 And so is the Bhagavad Gita, is that like, is that a that does not dwell on faith?
That's a beautiful question. So the question from Sid was, does the Bhagavad Gita dwell on faith or not? Right? And the answer simply is when you are confused about the nature of God, right? So, let me put it this way. One of the great writers from India likes to answer it this way. As long as there is an I, there is Ishvara. As long as there is an identity of me which says I exist apart from all of this, there is a God. Ishvara means God. So as long as there is an I, there is an Ishvara. Therefore, I need to have faith in that. As long as I exist, God exists. Therefore, I have faith. When I travel on this path, this I disappears and God disappears. You realize self. So it's not a question of faith at all. It's a question of realization, your own experience of that awareness. In the beginning, that question will always be there. And some modicum of faith will also be there in you because you believe in a God outside of you. But the moment this I, this realization of self happens, and this I disappears, the Ishvara also disappears. Because you are merged into one. You become what the Vedas say, Aham Brahmasmi, or I am the universe. But till you reach there, Krishna gives you all these methods to use how to live in this world. Jnana Yoga essentially tells you that you are the creator of the universe. You are one with that universal. The soul never dies, right? So that's Jnana Yoga. But how do you embody that Jnana Yoga? It's very difficult. You get out in the world, suddenly somebody is cutting you off on 95, all kinds of things are happening, there is friction, and you become, this is me, and you guys are not so good words, right? So the duality comes in. The moment the duality comes in, you are back in samsara, or the world of Maya. So that's Jnana Yoga. Intellectually, you can know that you and Ishvara are one. The second one that he recommends is Karma Yoga, the path of action, and how to do that action. And we will come to that in detail because that's a very big topic. The third path he gives us is Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga is the simplest and most effective path. And that is to immerse yourself in that faith. When you immerse yourself into that, where you say you see God in everything that you do. In yoga, we teach Ishwar Pratidhana, right? Right? So when you see God in everything, that's Bhakti Yoga. And to keep reminding yourself by different means of chanting or prayers and things like that. But they are again the means to self-realization because you merge into that vast ocean again. Seva. That's part of Bhakti Yoga, right? Now, even though these four methods are separate, you have to realize they touch upon each other. All of them touch upon each other. You can't have Jnana Yoga alone without Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and Raja Yoga. Similarly, you can't have Karma Yoga without Bhakti or Jnana. Jnana is knowledge. Bhakti is devotion. But you can't do action without devotion and without knowledge. So they all touch upon each other, but they are different paths where one takes priority over the others and the others support you in that. Right? So I hope I answered that question about faith. Okay, cool. Anybody? You had a question, yes? No. No. So Eva had a question. Is consciousness our energetic body or astral body? So human body has 5 sheaths, right? As we teach in yoga. Consciousness, okay, let me explain awareness for a little bit, okay? Some of my friends here have probably heard this story. Let's say there is a pot. Cat will like this. And there is spaghetti in the pot, right? When you open the pot, when you're cooking spaghetti, you open the pot and you look at that and you say, there is spaghetti, right? You never say that there is this beautiful pot which contains spaghetti. When you are sad, you say, I am sad. You never say that I am a field of awareness through which sadness is passing through. Do you? Because the container and the content merge into one. We forget the container because of the content. We forget the pot because of the spaghetti. Our focus is on spaghetti. In this room, there is space which contains all of us, but we don't notice the space. We notice ourselves. Right? There are many reasons for that. So awareness is something that pervades everything and it is permanent in nature. Anything that is impermanent cannot be awareness consciousness. Right? Now the example of the pot is slightly off because pot still has borders and edges. The awareness doesn't have a border or edge. So imagine a pot without any dimensions in which everything is contained. Or imagine this entire space in which all of us are contained. That is us. Is there something like consciousness and supreme consciousness, or is there only supreme consciousness, right? And the answer is the same as what Sid was asking, right? In the world of duality, yeah, there is matter, mind, uh, soul, and spirit, right? Isn't that the theory? This is Ken Wilber's model of how life proceeds. Matter, the physical bones and mind part of it, and the individual soul or the individual consciousness, and spirit, which is the universal consciousness. This is the model. A lot of people go with this model. This is the world of duality, in which you are separate from this universal consciousness. Right? And so both are true. Till you believe that you are separate from God, there is a separate consciousness and there is a universal consciousness. The moment you merge into that universal consciousness, there is only one. So in the West, we say there is only one God, right? Many religions agree on that. There is only one God. There are different methods to approach that. There is only one God. The idea of awareness is to change that sentence to say, there is only God, only awareness, only consciousness. Everything else is Maya or illusion. You see what's happening? As long as I'm identified with this mind, body, soul structure, there is duality that exists. And the moment duality disappears, there is only one. Yeah, you had a question? You had your leg up? No, you had a question. Sorry, what's your name again? Jordan. Jordan, can you repeat that question again? Do I think awareness of non-duality and religion are synonymous? Is that what you were asking? Is the awareness of non-duality and religion synonymous? Or you're basically saying, is non-duality same as religion? My interpretation. Right. So, okay, so here's the thing. Religion is a process. It's full of traditions and methods and methodology to achieve something. Right? What is that something for you? If that something for you is merging with God or a higher consciousness, you are in the world of duality. If your objective is realization of self, right? That's non-duality. So whatever makes sense to you, that's perfect for you. Sorry, what? A rose by any other name would smell as sweet. Yeah, that's the world of name and form. That's Shakespeare, right? What is it for? What is in a name? A rose by any other name would smell as sweet. That's different from the realization of isness. Thor's hammer is simply an example. It could be the axe in your backyard. If you change the handle of the axe and if you change the metal of the axe, does it still remain the same old axe, right? So that's the old axiom, joke. But those are two separate points. The idea was simply to give you an idea that there is something which is you apart from this mind-body complex. To get to terms with that, right? If you wish. Sure. All right. Anybody else? Any other questions? Okay, cool. That was good. No. The energetic body exists as long as you exist. No, you're not. I'm joking. See, energetic body is still in the world of duality. You understand? When I say energetic body exists only till you exist, that means the understanding of I changes. Then the energetic body goes. See, what you call the energetic body is right here. Soul, which continues on and on. in the world of duality, right? In the world of non-duality, I'm going to give you another example, all right? Get ready for this. Let's say you are at the bottom of this pendulum. Say you are this, right? This is your life, and it moves like this, right? Happiness, sorrows. Happiness, sorrows. Correct? Life goes like this. Now you are this, and you are oscillating, right? Where is your center? This. If you believe in God, you see, pendulum, the center is not this. The center is actually this. You see that? It oscillates from a center. So, let's say this is God, and you are this individual soul, and you are connected. And you oscillate between happiness and sorrows. As the distance between you and God decreases, your connection becomes less and less. Your connection becomes stronger, your distance becomes less, your oscillation becomes less, or a state of bliss, right? Now let me represent that in a mathematical equation. No, sorry. Right? So the pendulum oscillates between happiness and sorrow. The more God you bring into your life, the length of the string becomes shorter and shorter, and your oscillation becomes less and less, which means a state of bliss or happiness or peace or whatever you want to find, correct? And simplicity is in the fact of knowing that when this moves totally and merges in you, or you merge in that center, there is no fluctuation. You are self-realized. Till there is a difference between this center and this center, you are in the world of duality. The moment this comes inside you, or you merge into that universal consciousness, whichever way you want to do it, right? As long as you understand the unity of things, there are parts to you only when you are in the world of duality. Right. So that's why it's called an experiential process. You can't think your way to realization. You can experience it. You can work it. There is no prescribed method that you do this, and you will experience this, and therefore you will be realized. There is a guidance given that you should be like that, and then you have your own individual experience. The 5 sheets that you are talking about are only in the world of duality, right? So what are you going to use? What you are hearing from me, how is it going into your comprehension? Through your senses, isn't it? And your mind is processing it, right? So the mind has to be used, but we are saying that consciousness is something beyond the mind. Awareness is something beyond the mind. But unfortunately, the only instrument we have is the mind. So yes, we follow that, but there is an ultimate jump that you have to take into the unknown without using any part, whatever, which is defined, which will take you there, right? If it was going to be that easy ever, we would all be there, isn't it? Right? So it's like saying, I'll tell you the futility of all these questions that we have, right? A lot of people have these questions. Biggest question, what is my purpose on earth? What is the purpose of life? Anybody ever had that question? What is the purpose in life, right? When did time begin? Right? So, here is the answer that is given in the Upanishads and Advaita Vedanta and the Bhagavad Gita. The entire world is a stage, and it's a play between time and space and Maya, or causality, illusion, causality, right? The moment you question, when did time begin? Guess what you have done? You have accepted that time exists. Moment you accept time exists, you are in the world of duality. There is no answer. For, is it? Questions that have no answer? In Buddhism, there are koans, which are riddles which are given to practitioners. Questions which have no answers, I don't know. I don't know. I'll have to check up on that. No, that's good. I should find that out. So, coming back to this, questions that we have, which are very logical. But if you look at that, when did time begin? Moment we say when did time begin is we have accepted the existence of time. Moment you accept the existence of time, you are jumped straight into the world of duality, and nobody on this earth can satisfy that answer, that question. So if you are looking for non-duality, if you are looking for self-realization, okay, we have to walk away from this concept of mind-body complex and the questioning Western mind. It's a process. And if you go to any of the teachers in the East, right? In the West, we are very indulgent. To all students, we give answers. So we try to explain, right? In the East, guess what they do? They'll tell you, shh, sit down and meditate. I will let you know when you are self-realized, right? Because it's not logical. There is a certain point to which we can get to by using logic. But we have to walk away from logic itself to understand Brahma Vidya, or the supreme science, or the science of the supreme. Okay? So, moving on. Any other questions on this? So what we are doing through the Gita is self-realization. Now let's talk about the Bhagavad Gita first. Otherwise, oh my God. So how many people know what is the Bhagavad Gita? Apart from the philosophy that is taught in the Bhagavad Gita, what is the Bhagavad Gita? So long time ago, even before I was born, and I was born a long time ago, okay? So there was this big war, okay? It's called the Mahabharata. Mahabharata. Bharat is the actual name of India, by the way. Everybody knows it as India because of the Indus Valley civilization. The real name of the country is Bharat, or Bharatvarsh. Mahabharata. Maha means big. So big Bharat. So it's called the Big War. People date it to approximately from 800 BC to 1800 BC. Somewhere along that period, this war was fought. There are still remnants of that in this area in India called Kurukshetra. Right? Kurukshetra means the land of the Kurus. There was a royal family called Kurus, right? This king had, Kshetra means area. So in Kurukshetra, approximately so many years ago, there was a king who had two sons, Dhritarashtra and Pandu. Pandu means white. So as we are focused on white people in India too, right? So we made him the king. Sorry, it's a racist joke, but I can say it. Right. So Dhritarashtra was blind from birth. So he could not go to the throne. So the kingdom was given to Pandu. Pandu went off to the forest. He was not interested in ruling. He was like, nah, let me go live with the monkeys. So he went off. So Dhritarashtra, the blind king, the blind person, became the king of that area. And so he ruled in place of Pandu. Pandu had 5 sons. Dhritarashtra had 100 sons. Don't ask me why, but he had 100 sons. There is legend associated with all of that. We are not going to go into all of that. Just say that Dhritarashtra had 100 sons. Pandu had 5. The eldest son of Pandu was Yudhishthir. Yudhishthir was supposed to inherit the throne of Kurukshetra. Dhritarashtra was blind, also became blind mentally, and favored his own eldest son and gave the kingdom to him. Right? So, when these guys, they grew up, they asked for the kingdom back. The story is more complex. I'm going to just simplify it. So these guys were the rightful heirs to the kingdom. They asked for the kingdom back to Dhritarashtra. Pandu had passed away, gone. Right? They asked Dhritarashtra for the kingdom. And he refused. He said, my son, Duryodhan, he will be the ruler. So these guys, they asked Duryodhan to give us, okay, we don't want to fight, give us a small area. And he refused. He said, I'm not going to give you even that. So they were all family. This is family feud, right? They were all family. So these guys, they said, all right, if you don't give our land back, let's settle it with a battle or a duel at sundown, guns drawn, fastest man wins, kind of a Western shootout at OK Corral, right? So they decided to have a war. This was the battle of Kurukshetra, which is called Mahabharata. In all of this, these 100 brothers and these 5 brothers had a friend. His name was Krishna. Right? They knew him only as their friend. But Krishna knew the reality of who he himself was. So he said, I will not fight in the war, but I will be the charioteer for one of the Pandava brothers, which is Arjun. So our Pandavas were 5 brothers. The eldest was Yudhishthir, Bhim, Arjun, Nakul, and Sahadev. These are the 5 brothers. They also had the story gets very mysterious, don't jump. They also had a common wife whose name was Draupadi. Why was she the common wife? There is a story behind that, but Draupadi belonged to all 5. Right? We can get into the story of why that happened, but trust me, it was all pretty kosher, as they say. So I have been told, so I have heard. I have no idea. But, so the war was going to be between these 5 and these 100, with armies and areas supporting them, and some armies supporting these people. And Krishna decided to be the charioteer for Arjun, who was the fiercest handsomest, bestest warrior in the whole wide world. Right? So Krishna was going to be his charioteer. On the day of the battle, you okay, Sid? You okay? Oh, okay. All right. So on the day of the battle, Arjuna has his armies over here. Duryodhana has his armies over here. Arjuna tells Krishna, take me to the middle of the battlefield so I can see who all are there. Now remember, all these cousins have grown up together. So they have the same teachers, the same uncles, the same great-grandfathers, and all of them are choosing sides and fighting with each other, right? Arjuna stands here in the center and he sees all of this. And he's overcome with grief. He knows that he is a mighty warrior and he's going to end up killing his own cousins and grandparents and uncles and teachers. So he lays his bow down. It's called Arjuna Vishad, or the grief or the sorrow of Arjuna. He lays his bow down and tells Krishna that I cannot fight. I will not fight. And then Krishna advises Arjuna about what he should be doing, what is his responsibility, what is this whole universe about, right? And that is the Bhagavad Gita. It's the poem in the middle of the Mahabharata. It has 18 chapters, right? And those 18 chapters are divided over various sections that we spoke about, and each section talks about a certain thing. The first chapter is only Arjuna crying about why he cannot do this, why he can't kill, right? So Krishna explains to him. So what was Arjuna's problem? Now here is the similarity, the important thing to understand. What is Kurukshetra? What is Kurukshetra? Who is Arjuna? Who is Krishna? And why is it important to us? This is only a story, right? Something that happened approximately 3,000 to 3,811 years ago. Why is it important to us? See, all these are metaphors or hints at what it really is. We are comprised of 5 elements. I'm making a jump, but it will all come back to the same thing. We are comprised of 5 elements, right? Earth, water, fire, air, and ether. That's who we are. That's what makes us. These are also, by the way, yoga teachers, your Muladhara chakra, Swadhisthana, right? Solar plexus or base chakra, navel chakra, solar plexus, heart, and throat. They just correspond. We'll come to that why later. It's just remember that we are made of these 5 elements. In us, physically, there are 5 senses. We all have 5 senses. I also have non-sense, but we don't count that, right? But so we have 5 senses, right? Sight, smell, touch, whatever. 5 senses. We have 5 organs of action, right? 5 organs of action. Mouth, 2 hands, 2 legs. No, that's not 5. 2 hands is 1, 2 legs, procreation and elimination. These are the 5 organs of action, right? So that makes it 10. See the beauty of this story. There are 10 directions: north, south, east, west, 8, northeast, southeast, northwest, southwest, and up and down, right? So 10 opportunities of action, 5 senses plus 5 organs of action, 10 different ways we can utilize those, multiplied by these organs run amok in 10 different directions. Senses go here, there, blah, blah, blah. These interact with 10 different things, right? It gives rise to what? 100. These 100 combinations are the Kaurava brothers. And these 100 Kaurava brothers need to be fought with the 5 elements that we have inside of us, that is earth, water, fire, air, and ether, which are the 5 Pandava brothers. So the Bhagavad Gita is not a battle on Kurukshetra. It is a battle within us on the Dharma Kshetra, the ground of Dharma, where Arjuna is all of us asking questions on responsibilities and what is my purpose and what is my responsibility in life and how am I to get there. And Krishna is our own higher self. You see the beauty of the Bhagavad Gita? It is not about a battle. All this is happening right now, right here inside of us. And that's why Bhagavad Gita is so beautiful and so popular with every, you might have read from Mahatma Gandhi to Aldous Huxley to I don't know how many names that I have mentioned on the website. We can go into that in detail. But every known person or a famous person you would notice has read the Bhagavad Gita and followed it, because they realize that there are certain truths in that which are beyond mere perception. This makes sense? Now here is what will interest you even more. Earth and water are Nakul and Sahadev, the Pandava brothers. Right? These 2 brothers were born from Madri, and these 3 brothers were born from Kunti. So Pandu had 3 sons he had 2 wives. Kunti produced Yudhishthir, Bhim, and Arjun, and Madri produced the Ashwini twins, Nakula and Sahadev. Right? If you see our spinal column, there is a portion called the cauda bifida. Same origination, but 2 different points. And our base chakra, Muladhara chakra and Swadhisthana chakra, are these 2 chakras. So Nakul and Sahadev actually originate from the same father, but different mothers. Even though it's part of the spinal cord, it's not. It's cauda bifida. And those are the 2 chakras, Arjuna, Nakul and Sahadev. Right? Going up, solar plexus. What's the importance of the solar plexus chakra? Everyday action. Right? When we activate the solar plexus chakra, we interact with the world. And that's the man of our action, Arjun. The sign was Fire. The man of fire, the man of action. Bhima was the strongest of all the brothers, huge, also the most loving, and he loved Draupadi the most. Guess what chakra is that? It's the heart chakra. Heart chakra was Bhima. What is the element for the heart chakra? Air. Draupadi was born from fire. Draupadi is the representative of Kundalini Shakti. It lies at the base of the spine. And because she loved Bhima so much, Bhima is the element air. What do we use? What do we use to raise the Kundalini through the chakras? Breath, air. So Draupadi, supported by Bhima, goes through all these chakras to activate it. The interaction of fire and air. Born of fire, the Shakti rising and activating all 5 chakras. Right? And Yudhishthira, of course, is speech and communication and connection with all people. Yudhi Sthira. It basically means in the battle, very still. So when you are in the middle of everything and you can still maintain your composure, you are Yudhishthira, your throat chakra. The element is ether. So you see the comparison between what is happening in Mahabharata and the Bhagavad Gita and what is happening actually inside of us. That is the importance of the Bhagavad Gita for all of us. For one moment, if you leave the question of duality and non-duality aside, this is the important thing, practical thing that we can work with. And you can work with your 5 koshas with this. Right? Okay. So that's the background of how the Bhagavad Gita compares to yoga, or the yoga as we practice, and what is Kurukshetra, what is Dharmakshetra. Now, one other thing that we need to understand. So there are a few things that we need to understand in the Bhagavad Gita, certain terms that we need to understand. One is, what is Sankhya? Because without understanding this, we don't understand the philosophy of what what Krishna is explaining to us. This is Sankhya philosophy. Sankhya means numbers, and specifically numbers which tell you how you are made. Right? Second thing is gunas. What are the gunas and how do they affect us? You had a question? We know the gunas, right? Tamas, Rajas, and Sattva, right? What happens when they play with Sankhya? What happens and why we are the way we are, right? So we need to understand what is gunas. Then we need to understand what is Maya, or the world of illusion, right? In Sankhya, we come to know what is Prakriti and what is Purusha. Gunas, we understand what is Tamas, Rajas, and Sattva. And how do they interplay? Maya, or what is illusion? The world as we see it. Right? So these are some of the terms that we need to understand. And then finally, after understanding all of this, we come to the understanding that, okay, I understand that this guna is the culprit. He plays with the Sankhya and creates this Maya for me. Now what do I do? Now I understand that gunas is the culprit. It's creating all this nonsense, playing with this Sankhya and creating Maya for me. How do I go beyond this world of Maya? How do we break this illusion? And the breaking of this illusion is yoga. And the 4 types of yoga that we spoke about earlier. Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and Raj Yoga. The 4 paths, Arjuna, is taught by Krishna. And at the end of it, Krishna gives him the secret. So Arjuna is an everyday man like me and Tony and Ernie. It's like, all this theory is really good, I understand. Can you tell me in 3 words or less what I need to do? Right? And Krishna gives him the shortcut. And he says, here is what you need to do. And everything will be fine. So that's the secret. For that, you have to come to my next class, which is going to be 20 hours. And no, I'm joking. All right? So we good with all this? We will quickly go. Yeah, go ahead, Ani.
Really quick, so Bhagavad Gita addresses like the 5 senses, or the beginning of at least this book you're explaining here. Does it ever, like, you know, in the West we say the 6th sense, otherworldly qualities, does it speak to that in any kind of way?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the 6th sense is what? What is the 6th sense?
It's hard to put it down in a specific
It's
word.
consciousness.
Intuition, or deeper than intuition.
Yeah, what you call intuition,
Otherworldly boundaries.
right. So what you call intuition, we call, okay, what you call intuition, whatever he said, pardon my accent, but whatever you call intuition is simply what we call consciousness or awareness. Where do you think your intuition comes from?
No, I totally agree. So that's the boundary of it. That's
Right. So Buddhism considers consciousness as one of the senses. Okay? In the Bhagavad Gita philosophy, that is Purusha, or awareness consciousness, the field of awareness that we all connect to. So it's a standalone entity. It is the Sama cum Lord, or Sama cum Bona, or whatever, Sama or sum of something, right? That. So basically, awareness is everything. Awareness, consciousness is everything. That's why it's not counted in the 5 senses. So, which brings me straight to Sankhya philosophy. Sankhya philosophy tells us what we are made of. Right? What we are made of is Prakriti and Purusha. There are 23 parts of Prakriti, and this is the recipe of Eva. What is Eva made of? 23 parts Prakriti, which means nature, and 1 part Purusha, which is consciousness. Or in other schools, if you study, if you study Vijnana Bhairav Tantra or Advaita Vedanta, Shiva and Shakti. In the yoga, we say Shiva and Shakti. Right? Shakti is all the appearance, things that appear or are felt. Right? Consciousness is what we are in search of. We can feel it or you can experience it sometimes, but what we are looking for. So what are these 23 parts of Prakriti? So quickly, 5 sense organs, 5 sense receptors, right? 5 organs of action. We already did this. Sense receptors are, where do you feel this touch? You don't feel it here, you feel it in here. So in the physical brain, physical mind, there is a spot where you receive this, right? So those are the receptors. So those are those 5. There is a receptor for touch, taste, smell, all of that, sight. There are receptors for that. So those 5 senses, 5 organs of action, right? 5 elements. right? That makes it 20. And the mind itself, not consciousness, the mind, which comprises of three parts, which is manas, buddhi, and ahankara. Manas is the storehouse of information. It's your hard drive where you store everything. Buddhi is the intellect, and ahamkara is the ego or the egoic identity or the ego mind. I maker, aham kara. Kara means maker, aham means I. The I maker. Our physical brain, mind, has these three separate parts which have different functions, right? Storehouse, intellect, things which goes around recognizing things, and the ego identity, which sorts out these things into I like this, I don't like this, that's good for me, I want more of this. All of that is the ego identity, right? So these 3 plus 20 make 23. That is Prakriti that we are all made up of, and one part of consciousness. So according to Sankhya philosophy, all of us have these 24 things inside us. When I say inside us, I mean it's comparatively speaking. Otherwise, Don will say, what is inside and what is outside? Yeah, he's right. There is no inside and outside anymore. But for the time being, like you said, what do we need to understand this? What part of us feels that awareness? So right now we have to use our mind. So let's stick to the mind. So to explain to the mind that there are 24 parts. Now, here is the best part. What happens to these 24 parts? Anybody here a science student? Follows a science student? How many types of forces are there in nature? Yeah, yep. Weak force, strong force is the same. So there is electromagnetism, right? Electromagnetism, gravity, and nuclear. In nuclear force, there is weak and strong, right? Guess what these three are? Welcome to the world of yoga. This is totally tamas, rajas, and sattva. Even science talks about this. Tamas, rajas, and sattva have been handed down to us from 6,000 years ago. Science today recognizes that there are 4 forces which are at work in physics, right? They call it 4 because in nuclear force they call it weak and strong. And you will see that sattva also is weak and strong. Tamas is gravity, right? I will explain more about tamas, rajas, and sattva. It's important for us to understand what these are, to understand why we become what we are. And rajas is electromagnetic. Now, simple thing, gravity pulls you down, electromagnetism takes you high. What is the Earth's frequency of, what is it called? Earth's heartbeat? 7.83 hertz. This is called Earth's heartbeat. It comes up, travels all around a 100-mile radius all around us, right? That's electromagnetic frequency. Earth's heartbeat. Anyway, those are not important. It keeps on changing. It has been increasing. People are watching this. The frequency is changing, which is not good news for us. Simply put, gravity pulls us down, electromagnetic takes us up. Tamas pulls us down, makes us lethargic, doesn't let us do any action, right? Rajas induces activity in us. Lots of activity, right? Sattva, or the nuclear thing, weak and strong, is what we convert into electricity and we use to light up all the houses or power your submarines or things like that, right? That is sattva. the sattvic force which balances us. The better example is this. Imagine a huge block of ice. It is water, but it is frozen water. So it can't do anything. It doesn't have any movement. It cannot be used for anything except sink the Titanic, but Titanic has to go to it, right? But that's besides the point. So imagine this huge lump of ice, which is energy, but it cannot be used. So tamas, normally translated as negative energy. Actually, it is not. It is potential energy just stored, not being used. Potential means it has the capacity to do something, but it's not doing anything right now. Right? Like, for example, we are sitting down here. We have the power to act, but we are not acting. So we are sitting down right now. Yeah, our mind is active. So your mind is using. It's in rajas form, but the body is in tamas form. Right? So important to understand, when that ice melts and becomes water, that is rajas. Now this water can be out of control. It can go break the dams and ruin villages. It can also just flow peacefully. It can do whatever it wants. But point is, it's out of control. Right? So tamas, solid ice, cannot be used. Rajas, lots of activity. Sattva is when you convert that water into steam and channel it and use it to run a turbine or an engine, or you harness it correctly. So it plays a beneficial part or a balancing act. See what I'm saying? Tamas, gravitational, pulls you down. Rajas, electromagnetic, takes you up. Right? Sattva, balancing. Beauty of this is all these three energies are always at play in all of us, all the time, in different proportions. You can be a super active person, you can be a lethargic person, you can be a balanced person at different times or even at the same time in different areas of your life. Right? The proportion in which tamas, rajas, and sattva interact with these 24 elements makes our individual personalities. That's who we are. The billions and billions of people that we see and things and matter that we see are all products of tamas, rajas, and sattva acting over the 24 elements. That's the teaching of the Bhagavad Gita, the Sankhya philosophy. Why is it important to know? Now that you know this, you have to connect to this, Purusha, the consciousness, right? This is constant. The only thing that fluctuates in those 23 or 24 elements is these 23 parts. And these 23 parts, which can be affected by tamas, rajas, and sattva. Right? So what do we have to do? This is a simple logic question now. I have these parts which are constant for everybody, and there are these three kids out of control who are playing with these 23 toys. Right? And creating my sense of individuality and separation. What do I do? What should I do to stop this game, this play, for self-realization? Sorry? Right, but yes, that's one way, that's beautiful. Keep it balanced in sattva. But realize that if you keep it in balance, the tamas and rajas doesn't go away. See, when sattva is in balance, these are the moments of peace and tranquility and bliss that we get in everyday life. We feel what we call connected. That means your sattva is work. But that doesn't mean that the tamas and rajas has gone away. Right? So what it means simply is that when we stop this play of the three gunas, when we lose the three gunas, you are in self-realization. And that's the purpose of yoga. The last verse of Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. It says, Mother Nature takes you on that journey, and when the play of the gunas is over, is when you attain samadhi. Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. Yes? Yes, Jen? What? Is that when you are dead? True. You are dead because at that point you don't believe that you are this body. Absolutely. You can do whatever you feel like. That's the beauty of the Bhagavad Gita. After understanding, the Bhagavad Gita doesn't say that you start believing that this body doesn't exist, this mind doesn't exist, I don't have to go to work, I don't have to pay my bills. None of that. Bhagavad Gita actually tells you indulge more with life, knowing fully well that all these things are impermanent and who you are will never die. It's only the play, the interaction of the three gunas stops. Right? So the end game or the end result of understanding the Bhagavad Gita is to indulge with life more. And I will tell you the secret, right? At the end of it. We'll come to that. That's what everybody talks about. Yes, done. No, sir. Why do you want to do that? Because of the sound. Well, I don't remember it offhand just like that, but it is the last verse. Chapter 4, I think it's 54 or whatever. Maybe later. Listen, somebody asked Albert Einstein once, right? What is the speed of sound? He said, I don't know. That knowledge is available anywhere that anybody can look up to. Why should I clutter my mind with that? Sorry, Don. Anybody can look up that. The point is, that's what it means and how it adheres to that, right? Don loves to hear me speak Sanskrit. So I should have started this with a shloka, which I normally do, and I did not. So I'm going to do that in honor of Don. It says, Om Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kansa Chanur Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadguru. You know what that means? Now you're talking. All right. That's what it is. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kansa Chanur Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadguru. What it means is, this pertains to the Bhagavad Gita. Vasudeva was the father of Krishna. Vasudeva Sutam, the son of Vasudeva. God. Kansa Chanur Mardanam. Kans was his uncle and Chanur was a huge wrestler. And Krishna killed both of them. What it depicts is Kans was his uncle. So internal enemies and external enemies. So destroyer of internal and external enemies. Devaki Paramanandam. Devaki was Krishna's mother. Paramanand is bliss. So one who provides bliss even to his own mother. Before we go further, Vasudeva Sutam. Vasudev is another word for the world. So Vasudev Sutam means the child of the universe. So Krishna is not just the son of Vasudev, the person. Krishna, the God, who is the son of the universe, of everybody. So son of the universe, which is God, destroyer of inner and outer enemies, provider of bliss even to his mother who was like God, Devaki, like a goddess, right? Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. That Krishna is revered or prayed to as the teacher of the universe. So before you begin the Gita part, before you start reading the Bhagavad Gita, we always say this. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kansachanur Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadguru. Just to remind myself and kick myself a little bit in my backside that, hey, don't get too much of an ego. This guy was all of that and he is the real teacher, not you. Right? So it's just to teach me a little humility. Thank you, Don, for reminding me that. If it wasn't for Don, I would acquire a huge ego. Let me adjust it now. All right, so where were we? Yeah. So when the play of the three gunas stops, that is self-realization. And that is the ultimate goal of yoga. Right? We are subject to tamas, rajas, and sattva. Right? When the play of this stops, what does it mean actually? All your senses, 5 sense organs, 5 sense receptors, 5 organs of action, and the 5 elements that comprise you are still there. This is also still there, but it is not affected in any way by outside happenings. So you are able to do karma with 0 effect, action with 0 carbon imprint. You get me? See, it's an important thing to understand over here. Karma simply means action. Bhagavad Gita says, Karmanya vadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Okay, you got my Sanskrit going now, right? Karmanya vadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. It simply means you only have the right to action. Don't get attached to the fruits of the action. It goes on to say, inaction also does not mean that you are not creating karma. If you don't take action, doesn't mean that you are not creating karma. Because why? Your desires are still there. Just action or inaction has no effect. So karma is based on intention, not on action. Or what you accumulate is based on intention, not on action. Karma simply means action. Now, how do we take action? How do we take action? When we do good deeds, you will say, so there is akama karma, sakama karma, and nishkama karma. 3 types of karma. Sakama karma, akama karma, nishkama karma. Sakama karma means good karma. You do good, you get good. Akama karma is you do bad, life will sneak behind you and hit you with a lead pipe on your noggin, right? And nishkama karma, karma with 0 effect. So why should we not do karma where the results are good? Because of the attachment. Because even the realization of good gives rise to what? Greed, clinging, grasping, built up of ego, right? Even when we do charity with the point of view of we are doing good, guess what? Boom, you are in the world of karma. Karma simply means cause and effect. And destroying karma or moksha or nirvana in any of this, or salvation or liberation, means freedom from accumulated karma or freedom from patterned behavior. You see, patterned behavior or programmed behavior is synonymous with accumulating karma. Anything you do out of habit accumulates karma. So that's one part of it. It's not the entire story. Let's just come back to the karma part of it. Important thing to understand, look at karma in another way. Karma is also defined as who you are at this particular moment. Cause and effect, right? You are karma. Whatever you are right now is karma. Because the way you are right now, in mind, body, wherever you are, is the result of everything that you have done in the past up till this point. So you are the effect of all the causes. And right now, the way you are the cause of everything that's going to happen next. So at this point, at this moment, you are what? Cause and effect. When you are cause and you are effect, guess what are you? You are karma. And that's why the focus on action. So if you are action, what kind of action are you? If you generate akama karma or sakama karma, you continue. When you work with nishkama karma, that's when the play of the gunas stops and you have self-realization. Make sense? Everybody okay with that? All right, so that's a lot. Understanding karma is a deep thing, but I will come to, people understand Maya or illusion more or less, right? Maya is basically the understanding that everything that we see is real, right? Wrong. Everybody thinks Maya is that all this is unreal, right? Bhagavad Gita doesn't say that. Upanishads don't say that. That's a very big misinterpretation by a lot of people, saying that Maya or illusion means all this that we see is not real. Oh, we are going back? Yes, the goal is to have zero karma. Moksha means zero karma. Nirvana means zero karma. Nirvana, otherwise defined as what? Stopping the revolutions of the mind. How does the mind revolve or go on and on? Only because of these three energies, right? Either it's pulled down or it's pulled up or it is used in sattvic form. All three. So tamas, akama karma, rajas, sakama karma, sattva, nishkama karma. Absolutely. So there is no such thing as good and bad, even in Hinduism. We don't say good and bad. We say dharmic or adharmic. It's according to dharma and not according to dharma. That's it. Because simply actions have consequences. Every action has a consequence. That's right. Absolutely. See, till we are in the world of duality. Now, it will make more sense when we understand what Maya is. Right? We say Maya is illusion. Right? What is illusion? Normally we say Jagat Mithya. The world is an illusion. That's what we go around saying, right? Bhagavad Gita or Upanishads don't say that the world is an illusion. The thinking that we have that this world is real is the illusion. Our perception that the world is real is the illusion. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. That's exactly. See, we are not saying that this table, this chair, that television, you, me, all these are unreal. We are not saying that. We are saying that we think this is real. That thinking is Maya. Now, this is a very, very fine point. Please understand. This thinking is Maya. This thinking is the illusion. So we step beyond the veil of Maya means we step beyond the veil of thinking. Does that make this real? Does that make it real? That's the big question, right? So if this world is not real, is not Maya, just my thinking is Maya, or this veil that I have on my consciousness is Maya. This world is real enough. It is the product of all of this, right? Our understanding that this is not the only truth and we are something beyond that changes my perspective of how I lead my life. We don't go around saying, I'm not going to work anymore. It changes my perspective of how I think about my work. It changes my perspective about how I think about my relationships. It changes my perspective about how I think about death and life. It does not change that we go around saying, Ani, you're not real, so whatever you say to me doesn't exist. No, absolutely not. You see the beauty of that? And very easily, some translators take it as that everything is illusion. I broke off with my girlfriend or my wife or my boyfriend or something. Everything is an illusion. Oh yeah? That is going to cause you happiness now because you just told me that my relationship was an illusion? Absolutely not. That's not what we are saying. Sorry, what?
See that all the time. To all of us.
What?
If we complain about mostly love life stuff, you're like, are you just having a joke with yourself?
No. The point simply is, I don't know if I told you that or maybe you heard that, but the point here is simply that till you are in the world of duality, keep believing it's an illusion. That will help you too. Right? The thinking is the illusion. You get that? And you know it. So don't pull my leg now. So the thinking is the illusion, right? And therefore, what does it mean? It simply means that whatever, even that miserable relationship you have, please enjoy it to the most, to the utmost, for that moment. Don't get attached to it. It's the attachment to that which brings the suffering. That's the perspective change. Not that this is not real, not that you should not have miserable relationships or love lives, or miserable job, or I don't have money to eat or to buy a Ferrari, right? None of that. We are saying indulge with life more. And we'll come to that secret, right? So that's Maya. Quickly moving on to the 4 yogas. The 4 yogas that Krishna teaches Arjun, number 1 is Jnana Yoga, the yoga of intellect. And that means Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. Listening, repeating, and daily practice of whatever we are studying and understanding. That's why people do Gita part or Bhagavad Gita, study of Bhagavad Gita, or involving yourself in yoga or meditation. Meditation is part of it, but that's a whole different topic, right? So the yoga of intellect. Only in the Eastern methods, the Brahma Vidya, they actually say that you can be self-realized through the path of knowledge. And the only problem is the knowledge is covered by Maya. Just like smoke covers the fire, just like dust covers the mirror, knowledge is covered by Maya, illusion. So you take off the veil of Maya, and that knowledge will take you to self-realization. How difficult is that or easy is that? Well, Arjuna basically told, I can't do that. I am a man of swords and arrows and whatever. I can't do this. As you youngsters are fond of saying, SH, whatever. Right? I can't do this, man. Tell me something else. This is too difficult for me. Right? So Arjuna said, Krishna said, all right, hold on to your horses. Right? We'll show you another method. So he tells him the path of action, Karma Yoga. So Karma Yoga is basically doing your action without attachment to the fruits of the work. Now, I was in group yesterday and there was a young lady who was freaking out about, I can't let go of my desires, right? And all of us have that same thing, letting go of desires. Where in the Bhagavad Gita or Upanishad or any training is it saying, let go of desires? You see, as long as we have breath, we all have desires. If there was no desire, there would be no poetry, no art, no creativity, there would be no growth. Bhagavad Gita doesn't say don't have desires. It says do your utmost best at that particular moment without attachment to the result of your action. Your action is definitely going to go towards whatever you want to achieve. But you're attaching yourself to the end result of that creates negative karma. That creates suffering. And like you said, even if you achieve whatever you desire, the result is, I want more of it. Or, I got a red Ferrari. Damn, I should have gotten a blue one. That looks even better. Right? Even when you get it, you want something else or something more. Right? So, sorry? Or the loss of it. Loss of it is automatically creating suffering anyway. We all know that. So I just referred to the positive side. So even when you achieve it, you have a problem. So not getting it or getting it and wanting more creates suffering. It says all of that. Yeah, Kama, Krodha, Moha, Maya. But we are not getting into the details of chapter-wise analysis. I'm just giving you a whole synopsis of what the Gita is all about. Gita, you can spend reading one verse a day, and you can go for like 2,000, 3,000 days, and even then you will not understand. And I mean, I'm not talking about you. I will not understand because I have limited capacity, but you can spend a lifetime just researching that. But in essence, this is what it talks about, right? So, Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga. These two we touched upon. So Krishna says, all right, I understand karma. Arjuna says, sorry, I understand Karma Yoga, right? But it is so difficult for me to be not attached to the end result. So what is the other path? So Krishna says, okay, I'll give you the easiest path, right? Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga is yoga of devotion. Now, yoga of devotion is simply see God in everything that you do. And to be embodied that whatever you are doing is God's work. There's God in you, there's God in me, there's God in everything. Work also is God. And how to reach that stage is you keep reminding yourself. Because we live in this world of duality, we forget. So to remind ourselves, what do? You hang up pictures. They are what? Positive quotations you put up in your house, right? I am powerful. Putting a picture of a God is the same thing as that. It's a positive affirmation. You wear beads. To remind you of what? I wear it because it matches my shirt. Today it's not. But I do that, right? So people say sometimes, oh, you are superstitious. Is it really? Think about it. If this reminds you to keep in constant touch with God, doesn't it work? Is a church or a temple a place where God lives? No. It's simply a place which reminds you of the existence of God. So what's wrong with going to a church or a temple? If a stone can remind you of the existence of your own higher self, keep that stone with you. So it's not foolish idol worship. It's simply a reminder of who we are. All these rituals which make up religion, and we poo-poo it. At some time, these same processes and traditions reminded a certain set of people to look to their own higher self or a God to influence them to live a better, fulfilled life. It's as simple as that. And as human beings, guess what do? We take one sentence out of context, make a quotation out of it, put it on the wall, post it on Facebook, and wait for the likes and dislikes and the comments to flow. And there are 16 different groups which will say, this is right, or that is wrong, or this is that, or that is that. And boom, 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 we have all these. That's not the purpose of that. Right? So that's bhakti yoga, the yoga of devotion. When you sit down and you listen to a kirtan or a bhajan, if it reminds you to be in the presence of God, it works for you. Doesn't matter if the singer is out of tune, like me. If I start doing kirtan, you'll be like, what is this guy singing? No. If it reminds you to be in the presence of God and to devote everything that you do to that God, that's kirtan. That's bhakti yoga. So the guy you meet at the airport who's chanting Krishna, next time maybe your perspective will change, right? Because he is doing his best. He has his own story, he or she. And they are doing their best to keep in touch with their own version of their own higher self. And what's wrong with that? Right? So it doesn't say go one way or the other. It says there are many paths to the same top. Ekam satyam bahuda vedanti. The truth is one. The wise know it by many names. Right? There are many paths to that. All paths lead to Krishna. Sorry, Pope, but it leads to Rome too. So bhakti yoga. And then last, he mentions a little bit about Raj Yoga. And that is the yoga of meditation. So meditative practices can help you with the same realization. And meditative practices are simply, they are also part of Ashtanga Yoga system, where you practice asana, pratihara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. So yamas and niyamas in yoga are certain ways of being with yourself and with the society. So that purifies mind and body. Right? Third step is asana. Asanas are simply methods to make your body strong. Mens sana in corpore sano in Latin, right? A healthy mind in a healthy body. So your body needs to be healthy to hold an illuminated mind. If your mind is illuminated and your body is not healthy, it will not be capable of holding it. Therefore, asanas are important. Does it mean that you have to be able to stand up on your head? Shoulder stand is good enough, as I think, right? But make sure every individual is different. Healthy body means different things to different people. So asana is important for that. Next step, Pratihara, the practice of withdrawal of the senses. Because our senses give us input which disturbs our mind. Yoga Chitta Vriddhi Nirodha. It's the second line of Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. Yoga Chitta Vriddhi Nirodha. That means yoga is the process of stopping the revolutions of the mind stuff. That's how they translate it in the West, right? But how do you stop that? And that is by closing off the senses, withdrawing your senses. The example they give is as a turtle or a tortoise withdraws its limbs into the shell. That's what you do. So now that's under your control. So you learn to sit in a proper posture so that nothing phases you, nothing disturbs you. So that's the body part of it, right? So we've got yamas, niyamas, purification of mind and body, asanas to build a healthy body, and pratihara, withdrawal of the senses. Now what happens? Dharana, that means you form an objective for meditation. Now what is that objective? You can do an objective like, I want peace, calm, serenity, loving kindness, all of those. Or you can do what the Bhagavad Gita says. Who am I? Self-realization. The only meditation taught in Kriya Yoga is self-realization. Nobody teaches meditation for peace and calm and love and joy and any of that. They teach self-realization as the ultimate meditation. So you sit down and you practice simply on the terms, who am I? And there are methods prescribed for that. That much is in your control. Everything else happens. So in Ashtanga Yoga, yama, niyama, asana, pratihara, and dharana, these 5 are in your control. Dhyana happens. Samadhi happens. You can't force it. You can't get there. So if you control these 5, yama, niyama, asana, dharana, and pratihara, dhyana, which is an uninterrupted flow of consciousness. And samadhi is the ultimate merging of the individual consciousness with the universal consciousness. That happens. You can't force it. And that's why it's an experience. So that is the training of Raja Yoga. Okay? Now, one other thing quickly, or 2 other things quickly before we go to that. There is a beautiful term in the Bhagavad Gita called Shraddha. Shraddha. Dha comes from dhuri, or the ground, or earth. Dharti, ground, or principles, right? Shraddha. Shraddha simply means what you place in your heart. Shraddha, what you place in your heart. And why is that important? Your Shraddha creates your karma. So like we say, karma is dependent on the intention. Here in the Bhagavad Gita it says, it depends on Shraddha. And Shraddha simply means what you place in your heart. In other words, your heartfelt intention. And what does the Bhagavad Gita say to place in the heart? Ishwar Pranidhana. Devoted to God. Right? So Shraddha is important from that because it influences your karma. Right? And Dharma teaches us Shraddha. To have Shraddha, to impact the karma. So when we learn Dharma, or the ground of understanding, which creates our Shraddha, depending on what our understanding is, leads to creating our karma. The difference between dharma is what we should be doing, karma is what we are actually doing, what we should be doing, what we are actually doing. The difference between the two is suffering. So, look at this equation again. The dharma, shraddha, karma. More your shraddha is based on the dharma, comes closer to that, your karma is dependent on that, your karma equals your dharma. You see that? So, dharma is, let's say, the principles. These principles lets you decide what your intention is, what you're placing in your heart-mind space. Let's use Western terminology, right? So intentions, based on these principles, the intentions are created for whatever you do. Now, based on these intentions, you do action, right? Now, these actions are exactly as per the principles, zero karma. If you have understood less from here and your intentions are a little different from the actual dharma, your karma will be lesser than the dharma. Difference created? Simple math equation, right? So say there are 10 points to dharma and you take 8 points out of that and you have 8 points of karma, the difference is 2, which is suffering. Right? So the closer the karma and dharma come, the happier you become or blissful you become. Purer are your actions. Purer, yeah. Okay. Okay. Now here is the tricky part of all of this. Who undergoes this suffering? Who is the one who's suffering? Who suffers? Who's the one suffering? The mind in the world of duality, correct? Right? So, if your dharma is confused and your intention is absolutely pure based on your confusion, do you create suffering or not? That's the beauty of the Bhagavad Gita. You see, the Bhagavad Gita is said on the battlefield. People are killing each other. Violence is happening. How is violence justified? And people get it wrong all the time and say the Bhagavad Gita justifies violence. Bhagavad Gita says, ahimsa param dharma. That means non-violence is the biggest dharma. But it says, yes, it is okay to do your responsibility where you are at that moment in life. So, if you are at the battlefront fighting for your country and killing enemy soldiers, you still incur zero karma because your intention is absolutely clear. Let's say you understand that your government, not this country, any other country, it's not a statement or a political statement. Let's say the soldier disagrees with what his country has told him to do, and he still kills the opponent. Does he incur zero karma? No. It's his duty, but in his mind, it is not his duty anymore. It's his duty when his mind is clear. When his mind is clear that it is his duty. When he understands, sorry.
Shouldn't he be unattached from
Yes, Absolutely. Unattached from the results. Karma is not based on the result, it's based on the intention. Right? So,
But if Arjuna is still following duty, even though he doesn't agree, and Krishna's telling Arjuna to follow duty, then it would be zero karma.
yes, if Arjuna does not agree. You see,
But he isn't agreeing, at least at the beginning, right? Because he's putting down
correct. So the war has not started yet. After the end of Bhagavad Gita is when Krishna picks up his conch and blows it, and Arjuna picks up his conch and the battle starts. Right? Because at that point, Arjuna is convinced. That's why he goes around killing everybody.
Well, he's convinced that that's his duty.
That's his duty, absolutely. He's convinced that it is his duty, including the duty being moral. So it's his moral responsibility. Sorry? Yeah, Arjuna gets zero karma too. No. That was a situation. Like suppose Arjuna was forced by Krishna. Don't listen to anything or whatever. Your duty is to go and kill. And he's like cursing in his mind. Is like, what is this guy telling me? But I got to earn my money and therefore I'm killing somebody. Then he gets negative karma. See what I'm saying? Look at it from the other point of view. Yes, absolutely. Now, see, here's the other part of it. Duryodhan, the other team, right? They die in the battle. Do they go to hell or heaven accordingly? Or they incur negative karma or positive karma? Duryodhan, even though he was wrong, in his mind he believed that that was his intention and he was absolutely fine. He gets zero karma. Absolutely, for that part. Right? You see where this is going? It is not about the action that you take which generates karma. It's your intention, your shraddha based on your dharma. Now the dharma is what the moral responsibility part of it is. Right? Your dharma is dictated by that. If your shraddha, what you place your intention on, is based on the dharma, you get zero karma. Same thing, right? No, same thing. No, not so simple. Okay. Oh my God, we are running out of time. What all did we do? Shraddha. Now the secret. And that's going to be very, very short. And we are going to open it up for questions after that. So Mahatma Gandhi was asked once, can you, so you've understood all of the various methods and all of that, right? Mahatma Gandhi was asked, can you explain? He was a big follower of the Bhagavad Gita, and if you know, Mahatma Gandhi fought against the British to get independence for India and all of that. So there are other stories, we don't want to get into that, but the simple thing is, he followed the Bhagavad Gita a lot. And he was asked by some people, can you describe the Bhagavad Gita in 25 words or less? And he said simply, I can describe the Bhagavad Gita in 3 words. Tena taktena bhunjita. Sanskrit. It says, renounce and enjoy. Or in the words of Saint Augustine, love and do what you will. And do what you will. And that is the entire secret of the Bhagavad Gita. Renunciation. Now, renunciation of what? Not your car, your job, your relationship, and your love life, or whatever. renunciation of the attachment to it. Renunciation of attachment is the secret to all of it. If you are not attached, non-attachment to the result, it's the most powerful shloka from Bhagavad Gita is karmanyavadika raste ma phaleshu kadachana. Work, you only have right to your work. You do not have the right to be attached to the fruits of your work. Why? Because you are not the doer. You are just a medium. Nobody is born, nobody dies. You are just a medium. If you understand that. Otherwise, if you think you become the doer or you are the doer and you have a right to the fruits of everything, then guess what? You have a right to the suffering too, and that's why you suffer. Simple? Now is it simple? You like that secret? Tena taktena bhunjita. End of story. Right? So that, in short, is the Bhagavad Gita. But it goes on to tell you also about the truth of the universe, how the world was created, and who Krishna really is. And he reveals his form, where this famous dialogue is, I am the destroyer and creator of the world. Where, who's that? Eisenhower? Or who created the bomb? Oppenheimer, where Oppenheimer said this famous statement, I have become the destroyer of worlds, when he saw the testing of the nuclear bomb in Mexico, was it? New Mexico. New Mexico. See, they tested the bomb, Mexico became New Mexico. No, I'm joking. But the funny part of it is, so Oppenheimer said this, I have become the destroyer of worlds, when he saw the first nuclear explosion. And it's said that Krishna showed Arjuna his form, where all the worlds were created and destroyed with him. Those are stories. I don't know if you want to have that experience. Probably you can. I don't know about that. But here's the funny fact. I mentioned in the beginning that Kurukshetra is an actual place in India. It still exists. The soil of Kurukshetra is still red. It's still red, they say, with the blood of all the people who died. And that soil is radioactive. It's radioactive. So 3,800 years ago, people estimate that there were actual nuclear weapons used in that war. In Mahabharata, you will read that there are different weapons which were carried by various generals, Arjuna being one of them, various kings, and they had special powers. So they have all these graphic description. Oh, with one arrow he shot out 500 people or whatever. They could be one of these modern day missiles or, you know, one of those drone bombs or whatever you call it. We don't know, but these are the facts. There are pieces of arrowheads and parts of swords which have been discovered, still radioactive. Yes, Jen, you had a question. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So there's another, there are some references in the Mahabharata of flying things, but Ramayana has more references of that, the story of Rama. So in that, they actually say that Ravan, the villain, actually came down in a flying object, right? Paramahansa. You guys know Paramahansa Yogananda very well, right? Famous guy, brought yoga to India, to the West. What does Paramhamsa mean? Param is supreme and Hamsa is the swan. Swan is the vehicle of goddess Saraswati. Saraswati is the goddess of knowledge, right? So her vehicle, right? Vehicle, is that how you say it? Vehicle. Her vehicle of her means of transport is the Hansa. And the Hansa or the swan which carries you to heaven is called Paramahansa. So Yogananda was called Paramahansa because he used the tool of knowledge to take you to that heaven of self-realization. So it's not a place that he's taking you up there over the clouds about 700 miles up in the ionosphere. It's right in here. So the Hansa takes you there. Again, a mode of transport. So how much of that is physically that there was a swan that you sit on top of it and say, giddy up, let's go? No, I don't know about that. But there are a lot of Shastras and stories, also in Egyptian mythology, Greek mythology, that there were certain things which were available to them then, which is not available to us now. Right? The facts, what we know as facts, right? The route to India, right, supposedly was discovered by Vasco da Gama, right? Portuguese sailor. People say that Vasco da Gama or Europe was most advanced in navigation. Two things. If you actually read his story, Vasco da Gama was led to India by an Indian merchant who was already trading in Europe, and his ship was 4 times the size of Vasco da Gama's entire armada. That part of the world was that far advanced. The word navigation itself comes from the Sanskrit word navgati, which actually means to navigate. So there is so many things which are there, which we have lost. So we don't know. Half the stuff which is being made public now, we're just about finding out. And how far does it go? We don't know. So, those are stories. But, okay, we have 15 minutes. We'll open it up for questions. And let's see, did I miss out anything? Well, I missed out a lot, but chapter-wise, we can do the Bhagavad Gita. It becomes very academic. And I hope all of you enjoyed the summary of it. And sometimes, maybe if you want to do more detailed studies chapter-wise, we can do that. It takes a lot of time. And then I would recommend that we do it with proper books. And one of the books that I always recommend is Eknath Ishwaran's translation of the Bhagavad Gita. It's one of the best translations ever written. I think it was back in the 60s, but it's still the gold standard as far as I'm concerned. So if you're interested, please let me know, and I don't mind doing more classes for that. So we have 15 minutes. I'll open it up for questions.
On the Dharma, intention Dharma, where does ignorance?
Where ignorance is bliss, it's folly to be wise. See, here's the thing. Where does suffering happen? In your mind, right? No, but where? Where? That's what I was asking ever. Suffering happens in your mind. If you are ignorant of certain thing, guess what? You're not creating suffering for yourself. Isn't it? Absolutely not. But guess what happens? The soul's nature is of bliss. Why are we all here? Nobody answered that question in the beginning, right? We are all here simply because there is something beyond all ourselves which drives us here, whether you like it or you don't, consciously or subconsciously, right? There is this drive. All rivers end up in the ocean. You can dam them and stop them temporarily for some time. Ultimately, the journey of the river ends in the ocean. The flow of consciousness will also end in merging with that universal consciousness, awareness, whatever you call it. It may take one life, many lives, and that's why the universe goes on and on and on. Samsara, right? Samsara. There are two things that happen in samsara. The potter's wheel. Remind me to come back to that. But, so right now, if I'm ignorant and I do something and I'm not creating suffering for myself, that's fine. But there will come a time where you will be driven towards that. Right? Now, for example, a lot of us may have certain deeds in our past, which at the time of committing that, we were okay for whatever state of mind we were in. Suppose I had a couple of drinks too many and I kicked the neighbor's dog. I didn't even realize it. I didn't create suffering for me then. But today, when I'm further along the path of consciousness, that comes back and creates my suffering now. So you may be ignorant in that particular moment. Going forward, it will come back to haunt you. Actions always have consequences. Yeah.
So I question if there's really duality.
Good job, sir. Congratulations. You have graduated. Beautiful.
but you get what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I am totally convinced. I am personally totally convinced. The problem is I can't stay there. I keep coming back to this world of duality, right? And when I come back to the world of duality, how I deal with it is, that's fine. I can't live there. You see, there is a deeper understanding of this same subject. People don't go beyond Bhagavad Gita because Bhagavad Gita is a text, which is a guidebook, roadmap. It tells you what to do. Boom, boom, boom. It's easy reading, supposedly. But people read that. Beyond that are the Upanishads, Advaita Vedanta, Ashtavakra Samhita. You can go back right up to Shiv Purana or Vijnana Bhairav Tantra, right? If you go to Advaita Vedanta, the universe or the awareness has three functions: creation, preservation, and destruction or transformation, correct? The three gods of Hindu Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, right? This is up till the level of Dvaita and Advaita Vedanta. That this is what awareness does: creation, preservation, destruction, right? This doesn't answer the question of why do I keep feeling that I am connected and then I suddenly come back. So if I'm aware, I'm awareness, consciousness itself. Why can't I not remain here in the process of understanding creation, preservation, and destruction and remain there? Vijnana Bhairav Tantra goes even further and answers this. And the simple answer in that, and it takes a lot of comprehension to get there, is it adds two more functions to awareness. And that is forgetting and remembering. As simple as that. It says there are 5 main functions of awareness: Creation, preservation, destruction or transformation, forgetting and remembering. Forgetting that you are awareness consciousness itself, and then remembering as part of awareness consciousness, as part of your function. So today, if I told you, if you forget things, you have a disease, you will feel bad about it. If I turn it around and say, if you forget things, it is perfectly fine, you are part of an elite set of human beings, you will be fine, right? That's exactly that. It basically tells you forgetting and remembering again is absolutely fine. What do? We forget who we are, and then we remember, and next thing what we are doing, we're kicking our butts. How the hell did I do that? That's what creates suffering. It's not the act of forgetting or remembering itself. Our act of actually remembering what we should have done and creating suffering for us. So there is deeper than, like if you want to go into the subject, you can go deeper, right? That is Vigyan Bhairav Tantra, right? Let's stick to Bhagavad Gita. Potter's wheel, yeah, potter's wheel, quickly. So let's say you are self-realized and you have understood all of this and you go out from here today and you're like, I got it, baby, renounce and enjoy, right? And guess what happens? You go out there and you still face suffering, some form or the other. It keeps on happening. You said, Paritosh told me when all this happens, I have like zero karma. Why am I still suffering? Here is what it is. Samsara is like the potter's wheel, right? And you create pots. You put the clay on it, the clay of the 23 elements and the action of the gunas, all of that keep creating the pot. Now let's say you are self-realized and you have taken away the energy of the 3 gunas, right? The 3 gunas are gone. So you are not creating any more pots. But what has happened is the wheel keeps on turning due to inertia. The wheel keeps on turning. Now, when the wheel keeps on turning, the speed of the wheel is determined by how many pots you have created on that wheel. How fast is that wheel going? So even when you realize, self-realize, it takes time for the wheel to come to a standstill. In the meantime, even with your understanding and not taking negative karmic actions, you still suffer for some time. That's what they call my past life. I am suffering the consequences of my past life. You are energy. There is no past life or future life. It's just that energy that you used in turning this wheel so fast, the wheel is still turning and you are suffering the consequence of that. If Tony turns a wheel, it will turn at 2800 RPM. If I turn the wheel, it will turn at maybe 40 RPM because I'm weak, right? So in effect, how much action you have put in your wheel of samsara, that determines how long it takes for the wheel to stop churning out negative karma for you. So you can go to all healers and do all these stuff to clear out my past consequences. That's one way. I am not commenting on whether that works or how that works, not my field. All I'm saying is understand this. When you are self-realized and you are still suffering, your perspective can change simply by the act of knowing that this wheel is simply turning. You are not creating any future karmic actions. That alone is enough to reduce your suffering. You see? See how much money I have saved you just now from going to the healers? Come to my classes, I charge you less. What else? All right, next question. Okay, you guys liking this? Okay. Yeah, Jen. Yes. Look at it this way. The three culprits are the three gunas. Tamas, Rajas and Sattva. Right? Only when they play, the world comes into being. All we are doing is finding ways of stopping those three energies. Right? When those three energies stop, Mother Nature has taken you to the end of its course, given you the bath. But guess what happens? You're a clean child again. You come out of the bath, and then you go out and you play in the dirt again, and you become dirty again. So that's Tamas, Rajas, Sattva playing again, right? Right? So it's a cycle which goes on and on and on all the time. Yoga and meditation teach us to stop that or be in the sattvic mode for some time, right? So all these are steps. If you're stopping tamas and rajas and working in the field of sattva, good. Before going to nishkama karma, if you're doing sakama karma, good. But that's not the end of the road, it's what we are saying. Right? Doing good with a good intention is fine. It will create positive karma. It's fine. It may have the chance of creating ego, desires, all of that. In the beginning, okay. But understand where it is taking you. And then you will be able to do the same thing without attachment to the results, which will start bearing you nishkama karma. It's like when we do yoga and meditation, what is our intention? Here's the problem. Our intention is stillness of mind to leading to what? To self-realization, right? The desire to be desireless is also a desire, and that's a problem. See? So yoga and meditation, from the point of view of achieving self-realization, is a problem. But it's a good problem to have. It's a good problem to have. Rather than going around and creating misery, this is a good problem. But realize that the desire to be desireless or self-realization is a hindrance. Yes, the last stick you burn. Yes, dear. Meditation, yoga, all these are the sticks that you use to stir the fire, and in the end, the stick itself burns into the fire. So it's the path. Absolutely. Sorry? Yes, absolutely. Reincarnation, the same thing. How long is your wheel turning? If it keeps on turning, you acquire new forms, new bodies for that momentum to stop, right? The samsaric wheel has to stop, has to come to a standstill, or the wheel of karma has to come to zero for self-realization. Yes. 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 Yes.
Probably not the best time in the world to ask about the guy who said the wheel is broken.
Well, somebody called AAA for Don. The wheel is broken.
I'm gonna hit that tire one more time.
Sorry?
It wasn't really me, it was inertia, it's a big offense.
Do we have a New Yorker in the house? Ernie, he found a loophole. He's going to blame inertia on everything, right? No. See, I keep telling this and I laugh a lot. People always think that I'm making fun of them. I am not making fun of anybody. It's just that I have this sense of laughing at this entire play, right? Because all that we have gone through in the last 3 hours, right? It basically tells you what? Renounce what? Even the goals of yoga and meditation. Renounce it. And do yoga and meditation because you enjoy yoga and meditation, period. And come to that stage in your mind. That is zero karma. Not that I'm going to yoga class and I'm going to meditation and I'm doing this because I'm going to be elevated or enlightened or anything is going to happen. Moment we have these desires, guess what we are doing? We're just fanning the flames of that desire. Easy to say, difficult to do, right? So, but the point is, if you don't know, how will you do it? At least now that you know this, you can progress towards that. And be happy that you are not going anywhere. You always were, you always will be. See, the 3 parts of the mind, manas, buddhi and ahamkara. Ego is called ahamkara. Ahamkara means I maker, the maker of the I. So who Jen is the ego, right? That's who you are. The self that has been created is you. Now the job of the mind is to protect that ego. It doesn't matter what you put into that. So it's like the example that I love to give is like you have a guard dog and you tell them to watch the house. The guard dog will guard the house regardless of whether you have a little baby innocent in the house or 10 dead bodies in the basement. The dog doesn't care. It will guard the house. Mind doesn't care. It will protect the ego, whether it is a good thing or a bad thing. So if you put good things into your egoic identity, the mind will do things to protect that too. Not bad, but not totally good in the long term, because the self cannot be realized till the egoic identity is alive. Till the I maker lives, you can't realize self, because it's transcending the self, transcending the I per se. Right? So, yeah, ego serves beneficially. A lot of teachers, they do that, like Sadhguru. He likes to say that. His ego makes him get up on stage and speak to 30,000 people every alternate day. Right? It makes him do that. It serves because he's carrying that message. So he uses that as a good tactic. Right? And you said that it brings you back to the studio to keep practicing. So all these are good things. They are not necessarily bad. But the idea simply is renounce and you will enjoy more. See, I love this example. You know, you guys are amazing. Sometimes I have had some of the yoga teachers come and throw flowers at my car as it is backing out. I'm like, I live in heaven, man. This is amazing. One day I was backing out and one of the teachers, she just came and wait, and started throwing rose petals. And I was like, I live in heaven. Totally, right? So flowers. We cut flowers and we bring it to the house. and we put plant food and we give water, we know that the flower is going to die, don't we? So do I see the flower every time and says, oh, you poor thing, you're going to die? Or I look at the flower and say, oh, beautiful, this looks amazing, right? When the flowers die, do I call the priest and like, come for the funeral service of my pot of flowers? I was so attached, I'm deeply hurt now, these flowers are gone. No, they're dead. I pick them up, put them in the dustbin, and fresh flowers, correct? Non-attachment or renouncing is like that. Just because I know that these flowers are going to die doesn't prevent me from enjoying them fully, and even working with them and enjoying them beautifully, placing them beautifully in the vase, trying my ikebana tricks, or composing a nice little bouquet, right? And keeping Johnny Mangoes in business, right? Sorry? Enjoying the moment, in that moment, and actually indulging more by the fact of knowing that this will be gone tomorrow. Right? Sthir Sukha. Yeah. Yeah. Sthir Sukha is the happiness in stillness. When you find stillness, you find happiness, right? We apply that to asanas too, like you sit in a Sthir Sukha asana so that you can sit in a posture for a long time. In Sanskrit, there is a quote which says, Drishta dharma sukh viharin. Drishta dharma sukh viharin is dwelling happily in the present moment. You see, the present moment, if you are able to sit in that, is stillness. So, allowing yourself to be happy, or dwelling happily in the present moment, that is Sthir Sukha. Yeah, absolutely. Beautiful. Thank you. Do we turn this recording off? It's like 10 minutes past 9. We started 15 minutes late, so I guess we can go like 5 more minutes. I guess people want to leave. Anybody in a hurry to leave? Or do we have more questions? Rebecca, questions? Wait. Let me say hi to Noya once again. Mishti, we're good?
Yes, we're good. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can't hear the questions that people are asking, but I can hear your answers. So if you could repeat the questions, that would be great.
Well, will you remind me of the answers, then I'll tell you the questions later. But I repeated most of the questions. I'm not sure, but okay, we can talk later about that, okay?
For
Thank
sure.
you for joining us, beta.
Oh, of course. Am I being booted?
Yeah, we are stopping the recording.
Oh, okay. Well, you can stop the recording and not boot me.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, okay, cool.